Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Podleaders. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I am thrilled to be welcoming Emma Robertson to join us today to walk us through her illustrious career thus far, and just a few views on the world as we know it later on. But thank you so much for joining us, Emma. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for asking me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So our paths have crossed. Well, we have met recently, but we should have known each other forever and a day, really, because you've really got airlines and airports and really strong airport IT in your blood. But it would be really great to run through things from where it all began, if that's okay. So how are we? Where did your journey in this world begin?
My goodness. I live quite close to Farnborough Airport. So I've always joked that I literally have aviation fuel in my blood. The introduction of new eco fuels probably would be less so, but I wanted to be cabin crew. That's what I wanted to do when I was a youngster. But I was too short. There was barriers at that point to height. So I put that ambition away. But I've always had a passion and interest in travel, and I pursued my languages, and I went to college to do a brand new course, which was a European diploma in business administration. It was an out-of-county college that was offering it. The other option was secretarial with German, and this was a European business admin diploma. So I packed myself off to Basingstoke College, and first year went brilliantly. And then in my second year, I turned up, done my work experience in the summer in an IT company in France. Turned up in my second year to be told they couldn't afford the second year of my course.
Oh no!
Which was a bit of a curveball, having just spent a year already in education. So I didn't accept that decision. I needed to leave college with something. So I transferred onto the HND Business Administration course. With agreement to the college that a lot of my work was transferable, it could be upgraded, a little bit of extra work. And if it didn't work out, I would leave at Christmas because they felt it was quite a leap. I ended up finishing my second year with my HND and Student of the Year.
Ah,
it was
some adversity your way, Emma, it seems.
It was a bit of a curveball.
Well, yeah.
At the time, with the languages, etc., I was thinking of a career in the European Union, Foreign Office, using my languages and other skills. So I left college with a qualification that was a little bit premature, if you like, because I was only 17, 18 when I got that. Started temping, found my way to a local IT company. They liked me, I liked them. I was working in HR, which
know it well.
Which wasn't necessarily the right fit for me, but they, like I said, they liked me and I liked them as a company. It was a smaller company, and they asked if I'd thought about a career in projects. And this is going to age me somewhat. I genuinely thought that was like when you're at college and you're putting scrapbooks together and research, etc. I said, that sounds great.
Yeah. It amazes me how many people misunderstand their careers as they're going into it, and then like,
project management had ever come up on their career systems, etc. So I was like, yeah, it sounds great. And I found myself as a project assistant, and my job was to our company was putting equipment into the likes of Thomas Cook, Specsavers. I mean, one of the first projects I did with this, again, this is going to age me somewhat, was upgrading the memory in the desktop computers from sort of 32 gig to 64. Sorry, not 32 gig, 32 meg to 64 meg. But through that, and I was given a year 2000 project that was international, and it really re-invoked I like working in that diverse environment and the challenges that it brings. And then I was given an opportunity, I was contacted to apply for a role at CISA, which is when I transferred into aviation technology. I was there in the first 3. So when I joined them, my title was POO. As we know in aviation, acronyms are key.
Love an acronym. Absolutely.
I was a project office officer. And very quickly asked if that could be renamed, because my French manager didn't quite understand the connotations of being called a poo. So we got renamed. And within 3 weeks of joining the European part of CETA, I found myself in Hong Kong on a project Cathay, a global deployment rollout. I was supposed to be there for 3 weeks just to give a bit of a lending hand. I ended up being out there for 8 months.
Oh wow, what an experience!
Massive. I mean, I was really young, so I was 21.
Yeah.
I'd never lived away from home. I'd never done Asia either. So all of a sudden, I found myself, all the way across the world, learning new company, new role, trying to work out how my sort of French, German, and Spanish was going to help me in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong, yeah, amazing.
So I came back from there, but obviously still at CETA, and then sort of progressed to the airports. So that was the airline part, and then sort of transferred over to the airports, putting in the common use systems, so the kiosks, the check-in kiosks, the baggage systems, flight information display systems. And I was at CETA for about 7 years in total, and I'd reached the sort of accolade of project manager by that stage, but knew if I was to progress my career further to sort of senior project manager, principal project manager, I would need to move on. When we looked at the structure of my department, we were top heavy with senior project managers, which commercially meant that it was going to be difficult,
tricky, yeah,
etc. And just sort of timelines wise, my ambition and their timelines weren't quite aligned. So I made the decision to move, and I went to a smaller company. So I've gone from quite a large corporate to a smaller company, still global.
How was that transition? That's quite an interesting. Did you have to wear a lot more hats? How did it? Yeah.
And actually, but making that switch, so I've gone small company, big company, back to sort of a small company. And I've said before, sometimes a smaller company is where you learn the most, because you do have to wear so many hats. You're doing a bit of marketing, you're doing a bit of, helping the engineers with the tools, going to sites, picking up a screwdriver if they need it.
Totally.
Yeah, when bids come in, there isn't a massive bid management team that are churning out RFPs, etc. It's, you're the project management specialist.
Yeah.
You need to write this whole annex. Off you go. So yeah, I learned an awful lot there. The company was acquired by private equity, and the dynamics started to change. The opportunities started to change. They actually sold off a lot of their international offices, and that was the bit that was my thing, was international, and that was my enjoyment in working in that sort of environment. So I made a decision to go to NCR as a global project manager. So I was working in the telecoms environment of NCR, not the ATMs and the cash machines, etc.
Yeah.
But globally again. So I was back to my comfort zone, but my passion of international and all the challenges that brings. There's nothing quite like putting on a risk register typhoon or
no, wow, absolutely. All of the weird and wonderful things that happen globally, and probably more so today.
I bet pandemics on an awful lot of people's wrist logs these days. So I was there in that role for about a year, and then I was approached by senior management. My boss had left, and I was asked if I would consider to be the head of the department. Wow. So it was a bit of a curveball for me at that stage, because in my head I was going to be project manager, senior project manager, project management director, program manager, and that was the trajectory that I kind of anticipated. So I was asked, would I take over these 50 people and that entire suite of projects that they were working on? And there was a bit of hesitation of, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I've managed a few people, but all of a sudden it's a big department. But I went with the fact of they believe in me to ask me. So, good. They clearly see something in me that perhaps I don't see in myself.
There's every female leader ever. Yes.
Well, there is a thought about imposter syndrome later on. Yes. So I kind of sort of went in with I tell you what, give me 3 months. If I don't like it and I decide the other career trajectory is where my future lies, you've got a sticky plaster for 3 months. We'll keep having these conversations, and you'll know whether you need to go out to market or not.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, so I took the role, and within the first 3 months realised, actually, I really enjoy this.
Good.
like the big picture view. I started to switch my dynamic of seeing success through others.
Yeah.
And actually
Absolutely.
seeing them deliver and overcome various project issues, etc. And the experience I sort of gathered up until that point, the benefit I could give others of my knowledge, of my experiences of, what country did you say? Oh, I had this happen once, or have you checked this, or you need to look at X, Y, and Z, or shipping's not going to take 2 weeks. Your timeline doesn't look right to me. So that guidance and that mentoring and that shaping of others sort of had a different sort of aspect to me, and me being quite fulfilled doing it. So I was at NCR for about 2.5 years. And then I had an opportunity. CETA came knocking again.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity to go back higher than I'd left, which was important to me. But also to expand my experience into software development, which I hadn't really encountered at that point. It was mainly infrastructure, routers, switches, hardware, monitors, PCs, all of that good stuff, and networking. And with the dynamics of the future, I realised software development was massively important.
Brilliant.
So for me, going back to CETA, I knew the company, so there was a comfort level there. I knew projects and programs was my world, so tick. The bit that was going to be out of my comfort zone was software development and agile practices. I was used to waterfall, not agile. So I remember having my interview and being told, well, of the 9 active projects in your portfolio that your project managers are running, 7 of them are red alert. Really?
It's always nice feedback to get
at the interview stage. And there was a little bit of me thought, I know how this company operates. I find that hard to believe. And I was actually going to be working in the government sector. So all the biometrics, facial recognition, border control, border management. But I thought, okay. And I remember my first day and being presented with a dashboard where everything was red, and turning to my team and saying, so is there variations of red? Is this like pillar box red? Is this telephone box red? And this is fire engine red? Because I had to differentiate the red somehow. So I worked with the team, sort of sat down, understood all the blockers, all while trying to navigate this new environment of agile and sprints and estimations based on t-shirt sizing and thinking, oh God, clarity.
The system of fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Could we just tell me if it's going to be in the next release, please? And sort of working through with the project management team, and again that was obviously global, and I had teams in India and Australia, etc. And sort of after I was actually approached in my first year for a promotion, and I declined it. On the basis that I had come in with a specific remit. I didn't feel ready. And the dashboard still was quite red. So my view was, it will come around, the opportunity will present itself again.
Okay.
And it did. About 2 years in, I was approached for promotion to director of software development and programs within it. So all of a sudden I went from my smallish team of project managers to a much broader team of the testers, the developers, the UX experience team, the architects. And I'm not technically trained. I don't have a computer science degree, etc., and was suddenly confronted with some incredible talent and very technical talent. And I remember sitting there thinking, I don't know if I can do this. Why me?
Emma.
There was a moment of like, oh. And I sat down with the senior VP who had really been sort of my ally and championed me for the role, and he really put it in perspective of the diversity in teams and why you need different skill sets and different perspectives. And
absolutely, hallelujah to him.
Massively. I will talk about that sort of later on, about the difference between sponsorship and mentorship and how important that is.
Absolutely.
I was incredibly grateful for him. He was very open with his time, and there was never a fear factor of going help. I don't know what to do.
Having an open door is priceless, isn't it?
Massively. And I think leaders that have that vulnerability of, it's okay not to have all the answers.
Yeah.
You know, you might have to make the decisions, but you don't always have to have all the answers. Knowing who to ask or what opinions to solicit in order to guide your decision making is a skill in itself.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he was awesome, and I sort of said to him, why me? And it was the business skills that I could bring, my commercial awareness, my commercial acumen, my financial acumen, all that came via my experience of running projects successfully, keeping an eye on those numbers. I had some guidance many years ago in my career, which was keep an eye on the numbers. The numbers are what will get you sacked when projects run out of control, etc. It's very good advice to me. But I also
that's our clip.
But I also find with numbers, you can usually find, if you look through numbers, you can usually find where the problems really lie. Why are you spending
Absolutely.
too much money in X? Was it poorly estimated? Are you on site for too long because things aren't being done efficiently? So it was actually great advice. But yeah, he sort of opened my mind up of, actually, you bring a different angle to this. And so I was there right up until COVID.
Fun times.
Yes, fun times. So unfortunately, I was made redundant, and obviously the world stopped, and that was a difficult time with with everything that was going on, and then to find yourself having been employed straight from college and not having gap in career. It was a difficult time. But during that time, I was like, okay, again, fulfillment and purpose. I did a lot of sewing. I sewed face masks. I sewed scrubs.
Oh,
yep.
Good.
Yes, dusted off my grandmother's sewing machine and got cracking.
That's well done.
It was my way of contributing to a situation that was out of my control, and it gave me something to do. And then I hooked up with some great contacts, spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, great contacts like yourself, actually. And we set up a Women in Tech forum that was talking to women that were either making the move into technology or wanted to, and just explaining the world of technology is made up from lots of different roles and different parts. You don't have to be a coder to work in technology.
Absolutely.
There is so many different career avenues within that technology space.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I spent the time wisely, and then this was a real sort of turning point for me. I found myself at the Bank of England.
Totally wildly different, I imagine.
Massively. Again, very grateful. I had a leader there that was she wanted to shake things up. So her leadership team was made up of lots of different backgrounds. So, I came from aviation, somebody else came from sort of the Amazon world, somebody else came from a consultancy type world. She wanted that diversity on her leadership team because our directorate was changed, and it was about changing practices with the Bank of England alongside technology, alongside the changing world. I think I had 5 chancellors in the time that I was at the Bank of England, which is, I think it was 5 chancellors, 3 prime ministers, which is quite unusual.
It was a wild time.
It was quite a change for the institution. I mean, you're talking about an institution that's 375 years old.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The building itself is like Hogwarts, incredible place. And that was strange. I started fully remote because of COVID, and I didn't actually set a foot into the building till like 6 months later.
So it was such a strange time, wasn't it? Just onboarding and just getting used to working with teams that you hadn't met,
Not knowing where the bathroom was, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Your first day on site really being like your first day, even though you've been there for so long.
And meeting people for the first time that you'd only ever seen on camera, it was a really strange dynamic. And again, not like any other onboarding I'd ever had before, although I've managed teams remotely, etc.
Yeah.
Not having had that initial onboarding, it was a really strange setup.
And I guess from management level as well, and we'll pass by this quickly, but there was like a personal, you had to look after your team, make sure everybody was okay. There was like a much more social side to things as well that perhaps wasn't so prevalent when you're seeing your guys every day.
Yeah, I mean, it was again, sort of, you know, the leadership that the skills or the style that I'd had, I had to change. I had to change with the times, you know, new team. But also every time you ping somebody on Teams and you do, hi, can you help me? You know, every time I reached out to somebody, it was because I needed help. And I work on the sort of basis of a favour bank. And that could be silly things like, you know, keeping the door open for somebody, or, you know, getting a coffee because you get, oh, do you want a coffee while I'm going? All of this in my head stacks up as interaction. And then when I come to you and say, can you help me with something? I've kind of built some sort of, you know, relationship with you.
Yeah.
But in that world, it was ping, hi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very transactional, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no chatting. It was like, you know, we're talking for a reason.
Yeah, and conscious at that time as well, some of my team had their kids sitting next to them on the kitchen table because they were teaching them at the same time. But again, like I said, that adaptability and that change, you know, digging deep to say, and however rough I was feeling in my circumstances, I think we've all sort of said we might have all been in the same sea, but some of us were in very different boats along the way. So I was there for about 2.5 years. The world has started to settle down, and I recognised in me my previous background of being in a commercial environment is where I'm happy. You know, profit and loss, projected margins, forecasting. That ignites my brain. You know, delivering value and other bits and pieces. So I got in contact with a company that was being a supplier to me while I was at CETA. So what attracted me to that company is it was a small company again, so that opportunity to wear many hats, as the case might be needed. They had a broader portfolio, so they did do aviation, were heavy on aviation, but they also did things like hospitality, retail, charity. And again, I felt to keep spreading those options in the dynamic that we were in.
Oh, totally. It makes a lot of sense. You know, aviation took such a hit, and it was always going to take a long time to recover. So, totally agree.
I think sort of the uniqueness of the aviation industry in particular was such that it's not an industry you turn off and turn back on again. I'd worked through September 11th. I'd worked through MERS and SARS. Worked through volcanic eruptions.
I was going to say we've got to hit the ash cloud in that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, irregular operations in airport and aviation is a difficult environment at the best of times, but then you know, to have literally everything closed down apart from cargo was massive. So I knew it would take a long time for it to recover, and recover it has. I mean, you see the stats and the data today of, you know, passenger numbers pre-pandemic to where they are today, and the growth in the industry, aircrafts being, you know, ordered, and new airports being built in various, you know, parts of the world. So I had the opportunity, so I took that, and I went back I went to them as head of project management, and I was tasked with process, profitability, and productivity. They'd gone through some hard times, so it was about rebuilding the department, the reputation, both internally and externally, and those sort of KPIs that I worked through. I made the decision earlier this year to step away from that role, and to fully focus on my next opportunity, fully committing to the aviation industry. I realised, you know, all those years back when I wanted to be cabin crew, I have two passions: technology and aviation, and that combination, it's like no other industry. The complexity, the collaboration, not, you know, an aircraft is not made by one single sole provider. You've got the engine provider, you've got the hydraulics, and the same with the airport. The baggage handlers might not be the same as the airline. It's very unique in that environment. Presents some challenges that are very much unique to that industry. And then alongside the technology in all the time that I've been in aviation to date, technology is moving at a significant pace. We know that. And the next generation, you know, sort of having an iPad for when they can hold something. I think even they're sort of finding it's quite difficult to keep up with at the moment. And the next trends and AI, and, you know, I think back it was Internet of Things, and it was machine learning, and, you know, there is this huge advancement. But I'm finding more and more that you and I, as consumers of airline products, etc., we have our own demands that they're having to step up to. I quite like getting on a plane for 8 hours and not having a phone.
I know. I completely agree.
But that,
It's quite
nowadays,
isn't it?
the next gen, they
Won't be able to deal with it.
their hands have been cut off. What do you mean I can't get
Yeah.
on Wi-Fi? With Starlink entering the market and all of these bits and pieces, it's that fast pace of technology driven by consumers. It's tangible. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can see it. It's just that's sort of where I started from and where I've ended up today. A few stops along the way, a couple of deviations that I realized quite quickly that this isn't, I enjoy it and I'm doing great and I'm delivering.
Yeah, I was going to say, but what a wonderful journey to go on to understand where you really want to be, and also the airline industry needs it. Like, you really need people that have picked up things from outside of industry, so we're not repetitively just doing the same things, or try new things, try some stuff from banking, try some from different insurance companies and variety of different backgrounds, because they're doing okay, so it could be all right.
I remember when I was interviewed at the Bank of England, one of the questions I was asked was, it was by the CIO at the time, and he sort of said, aviation, I don't see the connection. And my response to him was, it's messaging. You're sending messages with a pound sign in front of it. I'm sending an APNR, a passenger number record. You're trying to get money from A to B. I'm trying to get a person or a box or a bag from A to B. When you strip it back, we are trying to do the same thing, just with different commodities.
Absolutely. What a wild journey, Emma. I love it. I think it just really sings true how different influences bring you back to where you really want to be. There is a real theme in there as well of knowing your parameters and knowing when you are comfortable to take the next step, which is just such a brilliant skill to be able to have, and a real maturity of career trajectory and leadership to be able to know. I love the bit where the part where you said that there was still too many red projects for you to move on yet, because that is like, I haven't finished what I'm doing yet, and I really want to tick that off before we can move on. Brilliant. And selfless, which is brilliant as well.
No Good. Pressure on the person that took my role when I moved on. So I've handed you a portfolio that's no longer red. Don't break it.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to see where this came from. Absolutely.
Well, there's that accomplishment. Like I said, I knew. Yeah. And I guess the reward for that was the promotion and the reassurance that you are more than capable of this next role.
Absolutely. And once you're in and running, then you can see that. But sometimes it also needs advocacy sometimes, and a bit of a push sometimes, to know that you're doing it right, especially when you're in the weeds of everything every day. It can be really hard to kind of see all of the good work that you have been completing as well. So,
and I think I think readiness is a thing where I don't think anybody ever feels ready for anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether that be parenthood or buying the house or I don't feel ready. Sometimes you just have to be bold and go,
absolutely,
I'm making the choice. I'm making the step.
Let's go. 2 feet in, or none at all. Brilliant. So looking back a little bit, do you think there was a bit of a crossroad moment, or there was a few along the way that you think that may have changed your journey?
Absolutely. I mean, when I fell into projects, and I always joke I fell into projects because I said I thought it was a completely different career path, but then it ended up being that I knew pretty early, this is me. I like organising, I like planning, I like problem solving. I like some of the ceremony of project management and other bits and pieces alongside the commercial and the financial stuff. So that was like set. I was like, yeah, I'm where I need to be, where I should be. This is, all the days from being like, a leader at Girl Guides, etc. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely where I need to be from a career perspective.
Yeah.
I said it was the industry, I think, that became clearer over time. But I think probably the most pivotal point was that role of suddenly stepping away from delivering a project of my own to suddenly being responsible for others and the collective delivery of a department. And all that brought with it. People management is hard. When you're a project manager, it's matrix management. You're all focused on the same goal. You don't have to worry about Bob's holiday next week. Well, you do from a planning perspective, but somebody else is doing all of that aspect, the appraisal, or somebody else is dealing with all of that. Somebody else, I'm not worrying about Bob's career pathway or his learning opportunities as such. That's that person, that leader. So to suddenly have that responsibility and the realization to see a project coordinator, become really focused on their learning and development and progress to project manager, a project manager that became a senior project manager, project director. That became my fulfillment of the
That's wonderful.
Done. The world is green.
Yeah, the end goal's being completed, but let's look at the middle bit. Yeah.
But the people aspect, and that's when I started to realize actually I'm getting as much out of this as they are. And I look at pride, see on LinkedIn people that have worked for me in the past, and I've seen their careers go on to wonderful, great things, and I think, yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. And if I'd be interviewing them, they'd be mentioning you now.
I hope so. There you go. Just as I gave almost a name check to my sponsor in a previous.
Yeah, absolutely. And those people are so important.
They do.
Trusted advisors. Yeah, people whose opinion that you really care about and trust and hold value. That is, that's going to really guide you through the decisions that you make and the targets that you give yourself.
And I think through that, as much as their words had impact on me, I realised, visibility of leaders is important. That's why COVID was quite so tricky. But words matter. When I had fairly recently been promoted, I'd gone to visit one of my team sites abroad, and I happened to be in the bathroom, and I overheard a couple of girls in the bathroom talking about me. So I stayed in the cubicle, and it wasn't.
It feels like school. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. This is where it gets personal. Their comments were, "She's really young. We don't see many female leaders." And I sort of, and then they quoted back something I said, and I thought, God, yeah, I do remember saying that. And it was an off the cuff remark, and I thought, wow.
It's landing.
Yeah, but also I have to be careful what I say in the future because people are listening to me.
Absolutely. Knowing that the words are really, really landing. That is what a wonderful experience. Well, I know, again, all of these little things that kind of push you on a journey.
Because I mentioned at the beginning I wanted to be cabin crew, and actually that SVP, I gave a school. I became a governor of a school along the way. It was actually my school, the school I went to.
Oh, that's so nice.
I still live locally to where I grew up, and I was asked to be the keynote speaker at the prize giving, and
oh wow,
school hall of all these youngsters, and talking about my career and how I'd found my path. It's all stemming from my education at that particular school. And when my SVP said, "Can I hear the speech?" and I said, "Yeah, sure," because he knew public speaking wasn't my first love. I went through the speech with him, and his takeaway from it was, "You wanted to be cabin crew?" I said, yeah, I want to be cabin crew. He's like, "Why don't you want to be a pilot?"
Oh, I love that.
And I said to him, well, when I was growing up, there were no female pilots.
Yeah.
I was lucky to travel as a child. I got on the plane, and the chaps went to the front of the plane and the ladies went to the back. And that perception of, you have to see it to believe it. I didn't know it was an option. I suspect my eyesight would have prevented me anyway, but I didn't know it was a tangible option. And again, that realization in that bathroom of, they can now see a female leader that they not necessarily aspire to be me, but can aspire to that level.
Of course,
the roles exist, the opportunities exist.
Absolutely.
So that's become sort of a, I still do women in tech things and other bits and pieces to sort of like, particularly around the imposter syndrome and
I think it's so important to acknowledge. It's not the first time I've said this, so the listeners might think I'm repeating it. But there is a piece of research around men and women both looking at a job specification and noticing what, a woman would look at it and see two things that she can't do and find that a blocker, and a man would look at it and see, a majority of things that might not fit his skill set but still apply, and just changing a little bit of mindset around
why not
female.
me?
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Let's give it a go. Absolutely. We've got to get the girls going, especially from a young age in our industry.
Particularly, like you said, the tech sector. It's not as popular as a female career pathway. And from my time at the school, that was evident. The girls drop out for computer sciences before they even do the GCSEs. They follow a different options path. So yeah, the more it's in there, the more they can see it, the more it's a tangible pathway for them.
Absolutely. We're going to keep shouting out on this podcast all of the younger generation coming into the airline industry that it is possible, and that's why I'm interviewing a lot of both female allies but also female leaders who can really show the path that could be done, which brings me epically smoothly into my last question, which would be around advice for the younger people, boys and girls coming into the industry, and how they should tackle that.
I think the things that have sort of have benefited me along the way is I've maintained my curiosity. Ask the questions. There is no stupid questions. Ask the questions. Obviously the obvious thing of work hard. Seek out the opportunities. You might have your 9 to 5 day job, but what's going on over there? What? Show me that. Well, can I help you? Stepping up and being present. I think it does get you noticed. I think the dependability and reliability have also served me well. That consistency along the way. Respecting others. Whilst my career has progressed fairly organically, I think I've never trodden on people to get where I've got to.
That's great.
I'm mindful of others and that empathy and all the other bits and pieces. So I think they're sort of character traits that I've had along the way. But I do think the one of the most valuable thing I've had is I said to you about the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. That sponsorship and that ally of somebody who is in a position of power that can, is sitting in a room and goes, "What's that? Oh, that sounds interesting. I think I've got someone just for that job. I've got a small project.
Yeah.
An opportunity to go to a trade show," and they go,
"Oh yeah,
I think Emma will benefit from going to that."
Absolutely. Or being sent to Cathay when you're 21.
With no Cantonese or Mandarin under her belt at all. Yes. I think that was a right place, right time one. But I was studying at the time as well, so I was trying to do some open university stuff at the same time. So
I mean, but what an amazing experience.
100%. It developed me as a person. I said I'd never been away from home. I'd never been that far away, and just having to figure personal stuff out, like where do I get X, Y, and Z from, as well as the work thing. So yes, I understand why people go to university to grow as an individual. That was sort of my mini version.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, Emma, thank you so much for today. That is, I mean, what a journey, and I cannot wait to see where we're going to go next, to be honest. I know we're just looking for the right thing for the next jump. So, we'll be having a good look out to find the next good project for you.
Thank you. To any of the listeners today, as an industry, aviation is exciting. There's so many different aspects of aviation, so many to consider. And I would champion it as a career choice for anybody.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Thank you, Emma, and we'll speak again. On to the next good thing.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.